Welcome to the podcast. I'm Ross Chapman.
And I'm Dana Publicover.
And we are Go-Getters.
This is a podcast all about ambitions and all the shit that gets in the way.
Yes, it is. How are you today, Dana?
I'm okay. I feel good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. And it's Monday. So this is prime time to get our thoughts and feelings down.
Yes, we've had the weekend to relax. And you had a nice little vacation.
I did, which I will share in our first category. So shall we get some time down? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start the timer.
All right. Shall I kick off?
Yes.
All right. So last week, the whole of last week, I actually booked off work, no work. And it was great insofar as you can't go anywhere or do anything. But I just realized that it really takes you out of just going to work. And I was such in that work zone for so many months that I didn't take a breather. I didn't take a step back and stop looking at LinkedIn or email or Mural. Yeah. And I just was able to take that week and just shut off from it all and start thinking about it and start reflecting about it, and had some time with the family. I rode a really long way with my son. We caught a train from here to another city called Salisbury and cycled the 50 kilometers back. That was super fun. It's been on my list for a while, and we're able to do that now in the UK.
How did he do? He's 12?
Well. He is 10.
He's 10. How did he do on a 50-kilometer ride?
He did well. So I did all the right things. We stopped at McDonald's. We ate a load of junk, and I got him a hot chocolate towards the end. So you got to keep fueled. And for me, it is just a time to chat with my 10-year-old son for about 4 to 5 hours through some nice countryside, and it's good exercise.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then the rest of the time we went to the beach nearby. We're in Southampton, so we've got a kind of coastal access where we are. And I was reminded that we're near the coast. I haven't been there for months again because stuck at home. So yeah, all in all, really good to take a break. And I would endorse that to anyone that has pretty much been stuck at a computer for 12, 13, 14 months now. You don't have to go far, but just take time to yourself. If you freelance, just book a few days in your calendar, and that is just no access. So yeah. How about you, Dana? What have you got to share today?
Well, we finally found an apartment, which is exciting.
Oh,
so we will be out of we'll be out of the Airbnb. We'll be able to put some pictures on the walls, unpack this huge stack of boxes here, and start getting some furniture. So that's really exciting, and it's in the neighborhood I wanted, and it feels good that things are kind of starting to feel more settled. So my life topic that I'm bringing to the discussion is about unsolicited advice. Because this is one of my guilty pleasures. I love to give unsolicited advice. It's actually my favorite thing. And I've recently found that I get texts from people, I get WhatsApp messages, I get Instagram messages from friends, and I'll just take days and days and days to respond. And then a friend I haven't talked to in a long time sent me a message the other day, and it said, I need some business advice. I saw the notification come through. I popped up and I was like, yep, on it. Texting me. She was like, oh, that's how to get your attention. Thanks. Because I had maybe like 4 unread messages from her. I'm terrible. I'm so terrible at it. But so I found an outlet for the unsolicited portion of this, where I'm in this women in marketing group. I'm in a women in sales Facebook group. I'm in this like female freelancers and startups groups. And there are all these people in there that are just like, how do I start a business? How do I get clients? How do I even? And I'm just like, yep, on it. Here are my 1,200 ideas for you. And so it's like fueling that energy where normally I love to tell people what to do. I mean, it's partly why I'm a consultant, because I like to be consulted. But yes, definitely fueling that and feeling great.
That's great.
Yeah. Maybe it's taking the pressure off of Jim. Maybe I'm not telling him what he should be doing maybe lately. And that's the timer.
That was well timed.
Cool. So now we move into the work segment. All right. So in the professional section today, I have I kind of have like 1.5. So maybe I'll share my half C after you're done. But I was scrolling through LinkedIn and I really just asked you if you shared this, because half the time I don't know, and you share a lot of really good content. But I looked it up. It was actually Adam Grant, and you know who he is, right?
Yeah, I've seen his face. I've heard him speak.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know anything about him. So do share.
Okay. He's author of Originals. It's a book all about people who are just kind of like free thinkers and who don't fit the mold and how they're poised for success. And he shares a lot of great case studies in there, like Warby Parker. Oh, he did a TED Talk that was really good. I think one of like the early days ones. It was a while ago. He has a new book. He shared a LinkedIn post about deal breakers at work and how a lot of us have deal breakers in relationships. Like, okay, I am definitely out if this happens, XYZ. And he posits that we should have those for work too. So I was thinking, okay, well, I'm not going on record as saying this. So off the record, I'll say I probably do not plan to return to a full-time employment at a company. I'm sure this is going to come back to haunt me at some point, but I think I'm good where I am, and I think this is my long-term plan, as it was before I took several stints at long-term companies and went back to freelancing. So I think I'm done with that. But I think what would be my deal breakers at work? Inflexibility, because flexibility, and I'm talking about the ability to kind of work from whenever and keep basic business hours, but kind of do some work whenever, and take a vacation when I feel like it's appropriate to take a vacation, take a sick day when I feel like it's appropriate to take a sick day, take a day off and play in the park with my kids if that's what I'm feeling. If, when you're self-employed and you have your own workload, I've been managing my own workload for 13 years, basically, minus like I think 4 total spent full time. I know how to shuffle things around so I can take a Tuesday off, And so I think inflexibility would be a huge deal breaker for me. Just a workplace that doesn't let you do that.
So that's around your calendar and when you choose to do the task, or you don't want to be managed around, oh, you've got to do this then, and not stuff around.
Okay. Right. And there are teams that I've worked with where the scheduling is so frantic, and it's not linked to any particular strategy, or the strategy and the goalpost move so frequently that you can't structure your own workload, because every day someone comes in with a brand new, fresh priority number 1 for you. So you literally never get to finish anything, but you never get to the next step. And I think that's all in the same thing. So it's inflexibility and also maybe just a lack of strategy.
I like that.
Also, if you're an asshole, like I don't want to work with anyone who's an asshole. And that goes for freelance too.
That would be a deal breaker, yeah.
Yeah, right? What are your deal breakers?
I don't like being micromanaged. I like enough autonomy that makes me feel like I'm in control.
You're an expert, Ross. Like no one should be managing you at this point. You're an expert.
Yeah, I guess this is if I had to press the reset button, or
I got all defensive for you. Did you see that? Mama Bear came out.
Whoa!
Like, who's managing you? Give me his phone number right now.
That would be a deal breaker for me. I think my problem is I try not to complain about stuff. I try and do something about it or highlight it as a challenge, because complaining gets you absolutely nowhere. Well, it does. It
feels good.
It feels good. There's what, misery breeds company, or what do they say?
Misery loves company.
Misery loves company.
Is it breeding? What's breed? I don't think there's any breeding involved with misery.
You know, I use odd words, and I got an author in here. You know, that's just not useful for me. I think less short term and more long term. I have to work with incredible people, and that is a deal breaker to me. It's just not one that you can identify in your probation period, I guess.
The thing is, like, you really can't identify any of these in your probation period because you're lucky to have a job right now. And that's the shitty part of it, right? Because, like, we'd all love to call the shots. We'd all love to be confident enough to say, oh, this is what we'll stand for and this is what we'll not. But we've all also had to have jobs that were absolute miserable, soul-sucking positions because we needed to feed our families. Beggars cannot be choosers. But it's nice to fantasize like, oh, this is my deal breaker. Sorry. It'd be lovely to have that kind of choice. Do you remember applying for jobs before 2008?
Yeah.
Before the economic collapse. Do you remember? Oh, because we're about, I think we're the same age. So we got a couple years after university in our professional working life, like maybe 2 years, 3 years before that happened. It was amazing because you would apply for a job, you would get an interview, you would get like 4 interviews. There were more jobs available than people to fill them. I remember that. And then things changed. Like, it was really easy to get a job in 2006.
You didn't need to be good either.
No, you didn't. They were just like, beginner? Come on. Like, you see a posting for an internship now and you basically need a master's degree and like 10 years of experience and like 30,000 other skills. But like, you could roll up to a junior level publishing position. Hello, I did. And they were like, what are your credentials? And I'm like, well, I was the editor at my school paper. They're like, cool, come on board. We love it.
Yeah, this was around the time I was a video editor. And yeah, I totally remember about 4 interviews. There was one, my first proper job. I remember it clear as day. For some reason, I wore all black, like I was turning up to a funeral.
That's
so I had
always.
I had a black like dress shirt, which I don't own anymore. And well, obviously, because years. But I was completely in black because I thought that would be edgy enough. And they asked me, oh, what if you had a task to do that you didn't know how to do? And I answered, and I remember it clear as day. I said, if I didn't know what the answer was, I would go out and Google it. And that was like the clincher. They told me a year afterwards, that was what won me that position, was that if I didn't know, I would go out and find out. And that's put me in good stead.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I tweeted about this exact thing. It was MIRO versus Mural because I saw somebody asking what's the difference or whatever. And my perception is that Mural was designed with the facilitator in mind. That experience is to make sure that the facilitator can own that. And MIRO seems to be built for the participant. With Mural, you have a good participant experience because your facilitator experience is so smooth. With MIRO, I don't get that feeling at all. I think it's clunky for the facilitator. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Okay.
I just prefer Mural.
Tell me your topic. What do you want to talk about work-wise? Industry.
When we say remote at the moment, this is pandemic remote. I think loads of people are getting really confused that over the last year, they've experienced what remote work looks like and they don't really like it. It isn't remote work. This is pandemic remote work, which means...
I've been remote for 10 years. This last year was nothing like that. It was terrible. Yeah.
Give us a few on what great remote work looks like for anyone who just hasn't experienced that.
Well, like for me, maybe not for everybody, but for me, great remote work looks like, you know what? My brain is burnt out right now. I'm going to step away. I'm going to go to Target. I'm going to get a pumpkin spice latte because I'm basic. I'm going to walk around Target when it's not crowded. It's like Tuesday. It's like 10:30, 11 a.m. And you can do that, come back, do your work. You can make it to the post office on time, but you're home to receive packages. You can sign for that wine delivery. Your children are in childcare. So you have you can do laundry, you can structure your own day. You're there to get dinner ready. It's it's just such a good portion of work-life balance. That is not what we've been experiencing the last 12 months.
Yeah, too true. I remember going to London on a usual Thursday, I think it was, and I would meet prospects or people in my network in really nice cafes, and I was able to do that because I didn't have to be in a office every day of my life.
Right.
I have to have variety, and that's what I just know I need to do when I come to work.
I did a tour of different co-working spaces. I met with a lot of people in different North Carolina cities, so like Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham. I was in Greensboro, so these are kind of spread out. They're about an hour drive between them, a little bit more. And I would just go check out a co-working space in another city if I had a client there that day.
Nice.
And I would just go work at another place. I mean, that was just gorgeous. That is not pandemic work from home.
So I'll briefly, for 5 minutes, talk about presenteeism, which is actually linked to that. I think over the last year, we've had this digital presenteeism, which has led to us being exhausted. The transition from being in office to online meant that everything in that office turned into a Zoom meeting, everything, which meant that your calendar was back to back. And in person, your life, your routine isn't back to back. You do actually walk out, have a cigarette, go to the toilet. You don't feel tethered to the computer. And I think over the last year, we have, because for some reason, we've had this presenteeism. Also, linked to that, where teams have started using technology in the right way, they've neglected that for many years. They've kind of used Tableau and a few other tools and some Microsoft products. And that has helped steer the decision or made it to look like they know what they're doing. But you still have to have this huge ambiguous discussion around it. And that has somehow happened in digital over the last year as well, so that we're not actually embracing any of the performance improvements that we get as we're working with technology. For instance, we should be doing at least half synchronous and asynchronous at the moment, but for some reason, everything is but for some reason, everything is 100% synchronous. 10 people have to come together to decide something that could take 10 people a few minutes because they run a vote or they do a poll. But no, it requires a 1 hour session to share what we all believe and go around the room. And I get this sense that quite obviously everyone has found the most difficult way of doing their work, but there is the promise that it should be better, and they're just not using a lot of the tools or the practices in the right way. So
go ahead.
What I mean by presenteeism is that you are somehow tethered to your computer for all time. Your video is on during Zoom meetings, and it looks like you are part of the team and doing great work. But if you actually delved into all the dashboards and data that you've been collecting over the 12 months, what you're probably not doing is taking a pause and saying, what are we learning from all of this?
Yeah, you're not processing anything. You're just taking in information.
There is no analysis. It is all.
And when do you work?
Yeah, it's I am going to present this workshop rather than we are going to collaborate in this workshop.
Do you think that the digital presenteeism comes from the fact that a lot of people are working from home or on a distributed team for the first time, and they feel like they have something to prove? Because before it was, oh, this team will never be remote. So you have to say, look how hard I work remote. Look how good I am. I'm a better employee remote than in person.
It's a good question. I think it is in my view, pure and simple, the way that people worked in an office has just moved straight online. So it's actually exposing how dysfunctional it was.
I think 100%. I think there's been no adaptations made for the mediums, or the communication change. But I also think when you talk about asynchronous, I don't think people know how to do asynchronous. I don't think we've been properly trained in asynchronous methods or possibilities.
No, it's like our clients asking us for personalization and chatbots 2 years ago, and they didn't really know what they were either, or wanting to be agile, but really doing everything waterfall. So yeah, I think a year isn't enough to change how you work, and I just think that there's a lot of work to do about unlearning and just removing how we used to work and looking at it again, and not trying to top up all the dysfunction. Just stop,
Yeah.
delete a load of stuff and start again.
Yeah. I'd like to see, I'd be curious to see if we have more development around what asynchronous work looks like, more tools. I mean, Loom is such a great tool for asynchronous work. I'd like to see things like that leveraged more, but maybe just people get better versed in it in general.
I don't think even people doing asynchronous work knows it's asynchronous, so they wouldn't evangelize it to scale within an organization anyway. What they will say is, Ross, you do videos, that's really good. But what they don't understand is I'm doing that in a time that suits me, related back to coordinating your own calendar.
Right.
And I am enabling everyone to watch it at a time that they're available. So yeah, that's and that's what I got to say about that.
What are you learning about lately? I got a really cool recommendation for a newsletter to subscribe to from a friend of mine, Carl Sakis. He is an agency consultant in Raleigh, North Carolina. Super cool guy. He sent me Alex Danco's newsletter, which I've never heard of before. But the one he sent me is really, really nerdy, and I really, really loved it. So it's the concept of world building as like a sales model. And so world building like Dungeons and Dragons. And I totally used to play D&D, by the way, so I can say that. So I wanted to read you a section of this newsletter because it was so fascinating. You're going to learn quickly that the actual hard problems in the world worth working on are system problems. Trying to ship something inside a big company, that's a system. Trying to build a startup that rearranges the world in an interesting way, that's a system too. System problems cannot be fixed in one step, nor can they be fixed in a sequence of linear steps. Why not? Because when systems find a steady state, which is probably when you're encountering them, if you're setting out to change something, they're steady not because they're static, but because they're dynamically held in place by feedback loops. If you try to change one variable, you can apply as much effort as you like, but the minute you let go, the system will snap right back to its original configuration. This is something you and I have experienced working with team transformation, digital transformation, large-scale projects, anything involving organizational change. It's the same thing. So if you want to change how a system works and move the system into a new steady state that's closer to your goal, sequential effort won't do much. What you need is parallel effort. You need several different things to happen all at the same time for the system to move in the direction you want and stay there. Right? So then he goes into how that's world building and how you're not even just creating a story, you're creating worlds that then exist without you. So that they keep on, like you're creating something that will scale and repeat. So then you move on to the next system and you move on to the next system, and then it's all working together.
That sounds like how a leader should be.
Yes, exactly. It's not hands-on. It's like you're building a self-sustaining department or team based on their strengths that can solve that one portion of the problem. And then you create the other one. And so what you're doing is building each piece of it, working together as a world. So it's all got the same big picture thing. I think that is so cool.
I like that. I'm going to subscribe to that.
You should.
Yeah. I like
Also,
that.
I think I
I
read in
like,
his bio he's
yeah.
like 31. I know. I was like, I thought you were much older the way you speak about organizational change. I think who were we just talking? Oh, Adam Grant. We were talking about. He's 39. I wanted him to be a lot older than me. Wow.
Grow up.
I'm never going to be 40 under 40.
What does 40 under 40 mean? Does it
There's
mean you made $40 million
God no.
before you were 40?
No, there's always these lists like 20 under 20,
they're
30
like
under
40
30.
amazing.
Yeah, like 40 awesome people who are under 40. And like every time
I never
age,
got
I have
in
a
those
bracket.
lists.
Well, hopefully they'll start a 50 over 50 group, and that's the one where I'll slide right in. Bummer. What are you learning? What'd you learn?
I founded, curate, keep on going a community called Remote Sprinters, which I have done for 3 years now. And Dana's a member.
Hi.
Which is great. So yeah, I've been running this community on Facebook of all places. I have tried to move it to something that is probably a little more grown up, like Slack, and then Salesforce bought it, and then I kind of stopped looking at that. So it's on Facebook, and I've run events and shared content and had discussions, and often used it, to your point, as a feedback loop. And recently I was sharing some content and I started getting asked, oh, why have you shared this piece of content? Essentially, you're using this community to generate ideas and use them in a commercial way. And I had to stop and look at that kind of point, because to a degree they were right. I am using it as a feedback loop. Everyone in that community are not my ideal customer at all. So it's never going to be a, on May the 1st, 2022, hey, everybody, guess what? You're now in some kind of click funnel and you're going to be, signed up to this thing that you'll never leave. No, the whole idea is to share what we're learning as sprint facilitators that are quite close to where the action is. And I use it as a feedback loop to understand people's perception, what they find valuable. And it just took me a moment to realize, first of all, I should be doing way more in that community. I know that was a bit of a dig, but I was like, actually, I haven't been doing as much as I've been talking about. So I have an ambition, which I'll share in a moment. And actually, it's great that someone in the community actually said something that they saw. There's so many members in there now that it's quite hard to get some conversation happening from quite a large group. So for me, it was a learning of don't capitalize on a community. You're serving them, and really don't take them for granted either. I only use it. I don't even use it. I feel a responsibility to share what I know, to improve the diversity in the industry that we are. And I'm not gonna ever have a masterclass that you're gonna. This is me saying a stake in the ground off the record. I'm never gonna have a masterclass that I'm going to offer and have lots of people on it. I'm going to share everything I know there, and if anyone wants to work with me directly, that's not going to be in the community. I'm not going to monetize this community directly, just like Gary Vaynerchuk hasn't done with his community. He will say, by the way, I've got this empathy wines thing, by the way, I've got the Sasha group, and if you're interested in those avenues, you go over there. You don't capitalize or monetize your community until you absolutely have to.
Or until they demonstrate that that's the expectation.
Yeah. I think the guidance is just do right by them, and don't just turn around one day and just flip the whole thing. So yeah, that was my learning this week. You were in that thread,
I was,
Dana.
because
did you see? something
Here's
else
what
on that?
yeah. So I think my perception is when you crowdsource, like, hey, what are you struggling with right now? You're looking to create a tool or a content piece to help solve that problem, and you're not charging for that. That's not been my experience with you. So when it's like, hey, what's the hardest part for you running a design sprint? And then like 10 people are like timekeeping. Then you'll write an article called Timekeeping for Design Sprints, etc. I mean, that's a great example, but I don't think you actually wrote that article.
No,
Maybe you should.
which I can do, and
Yeah.
which will be free.
Yeah. I
Right
haven't seen you
now,
sell anything
no,
from that.
if right now, community, if you want to learn how to run a design sprint, there is a online masterclass by a company called AJ and Smart. That is still a great way to get practical experience, and you can do it over a weekend.
Yeah.
I would also recommend, and they're sharing it a bit more now, that the authors of the sprint are doing some workshops. They're very limited. It for me, it was great to be at one of Jake Knapp's workshops in Copenhagen. That was great. You meet the author and you have an experience. And for me, that was just a great learning. But there are so many ways to learn this. I don't find any value in just creating a copycat program.
There's no point. It's already been done and it's been done well. Let's add something else to the conversation.
Yeah,
Let's not have the same conversation again. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So
oh, I forgot to set the timer on that. Speaking of timekeeping for sprints.
Let's move on.
I literally didn't set the timer.
That's cool.
Okay. Oh, I wanted to share my 0.5 thing. Do I have time?
Go for that. Yeah.
Okay. Like I have a bonus topic.
Okay.
So I opened up my calendar for 15-minute blocks for literally anyone who just signs up. And so far, it's been a pretty steady mix of qualified leads, which is really cool, and students who want some mentorship. And that's totally fine. I always stretch those conversations out. Like I said, the unsolicited advice thing. Dana loves a question. Ask me a question. You own me. I will tell you everything I know. I'm not charging for that kind of advice. I'm just like, oh, here, yeah, let me help you solve your problem. So I had someone ask me about Pitchcraft, and registration is now closed. It's sold out. It's awesome. And he was asking me essentially everything I was going to cover. And I'm like, this is a really in-depth questionnaire for a $200 course, And he's asking me step by step, and he's like, okay, and what tools are you going to use? And are you going to have a workbook and whatever? And I was like, are you building an online course? He's like, no. And then he was like, tell me again, like why this is important for me to take this class. And I was like, I don't know, man. It's a sales training thing. If your sales are good and you're happy where they are, you don't need it. Like, I don't know. It was like he wanted to meet with me and have me walk through the thing that I built and tell him exactly how I did it. And I'm like, I'm not training you how to build an online course, dude. I'm not an expert in that.
That's crazy. The other people that signed up with the course, they didn't ask for this, did they? This was the one outlier.
Yeah, nobody who signed up for the course had literally any questions, really. I got questions like, hey, I'm building a coaching business. Is this good for me? Yeah, it is. I haven't started my company yet, but I know what I want to sell. Can I do this? Yes. And now those are part of the FAQ for the next one. But no, this guy, it was like like he was grilling me, and I was like, I'm not going to sell you over the phone a $200 thing.
It's not Wolf of Wall Street.
No, it's not. And like, what's with the questioning? I don't know. Good luck with your course, dude. I don't know. It was just weird. Maybe I just wanted to tell you that story. Maybe that's not a podcast story. Maybe I just wanted to tell you that.
No, I like that. I think when you've been in this business a long time, your senses get attuned to what might be X and what might be Y, and this sounded like an outlier that wasn't going to be your ideal client, that wasn't going to be someone that's going to enjoy it. They may pick it apart all the way through and then
right,
during.
exhausted. I
So
don't want that in my class. But
no,
also, like, he couldn't answer any of my questions. I was asking him questions like, well, hey, what problem are you hoping this solves? What are you looking to accomplish? And he just like brushed my questions off. So, like, are you just meeting with me because you want to build an online course? Like, that's what it seemed like.
yeah, this sounds more like a let's have a one-to-one about it, or maybe I'm not available for this. Like
Yeah, I
this
just ended the
sounds like,
call. I just repeated it. I was like,
yeah,
I'm like, I don't know. Are your sales where you want them to be? Then you don't need this. Like, if you're
yeah.
selling what you want, then don't buy it.
It's just a qualification. It sounds like a, yeah.
It sounds like a fishing call. And like, I don't have time
Exactly.
for that.
No, go
But I don't want
fish.
to close my calendar down because I get so many lovely, like, young UX designers who are just like, I just don't know where my career's going. And I saw that you wrote a book, but then you did this and you've done a lot of different things. And I want to know, like, which of those things did you choose to pursue? And I have very honest answers for that because it's the multi-hyphen life we were talking about 2 episodes ago, the Emma Gannon book. It's, I don't know. So I hope that I keep getting mentorship calls, but I just have, like, I don't need to prove myself to you, dude.
You know, I think it's good that you do that. I think that you will sometimes get some people abusing that, and he wasn't in the influencer space. This is about having trolls and people that hate upon you. And
I'm not famous enough for a troll or a hater yet.
no, well,
Fingers crossed.
it may come, yeah. But I think instead of just closing it all down, then you know that's probably just something that goes with the job.
Yeah. Or maybe I just get a receptionist who answers the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the nature of your call? And what is this regarding? I'll see if she's available. She's not. Ambitions.
Ambitions.
What did you do about your ambitions this week? Let's see. Your ambitions were
To edit an episode.
Uh-huh.
Actually, I said edit episodes. So yeah, yeah, and
and finish a website.
Finish a website.
No, that was mine. That was mine.
That was yours. We are not the same person. Yeah. So yeah, how did you get on? Did you finish that website?
Finish the website. Yeah, it looks so much better than I thought. And I updated some of my landing pages and I updated the branding on my lead gen tool, which is exciting. And my other ambition was to sell 2 more slots in Pitchcraft. I sold 5 more, which means it is sold out.
Sold out.
Very exciting. My first ever course. And I've got all the course materials done, which was my ambition 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So it's time to set some new ambitions, I think.
Okay.
No matter what ambition I set, it's going to be waylaid because of now all of the logistics associated with moving to this new apartment where I'm going to have to worry about utilities and finding new childcare and making all of those arrangements. And I have to order a house full of furniture and coordinate the move. So whatever I planned is not going to happen. So I'm just going to say roll with the punches is my ambition, which is very unlike me, but I'm going to take it. Mm-hmm.
Sounds bold. But you're going to have to.
No, I have one. All of that. Okay. And also, I have 4 new leads for this productized service that I built. And
Whoa. Have you just invented a productized service while you've been doing Pitchcraft?
Yeah. And launching a podcast.
Need to be more ambitious. Okay.
Anyway, but I sold one and iterated, obviously, because it's awesome. It's not easy to do, but it's really neat and packaged nicely. So I have 4 leads for that I'm speaking to in the next week or so, and my goal is to close half of them.
Good.
Did you give? I don't think you gave an ambition.
No, I didn't. I was trying to skip over that, but no. You didn't let me.
Can your ambition be To be ambitious? Is that an ambition? Is your ambition to just
be as ambitious as Dana is, like doing one thing, but
no
also
one can do
creating
what I
lots
can
of other
do.
things? It's true. That's why you get the big bucks. Okay. Well, in between now and next week, this guy is getting a haircut.
Yay!
So
Finally. But then I'm not going to be able to make fun of you. Oh, I'll find something else.
you'll find a way.
I'll find something.
So that has been a bit of a blocker on my YouTube content, which if anyone knows me, I have over the last few years said that I'm going to create more YouTube content, and I've been putting that off forever. Even so far as, if you remember a few episodes ago, someone found me by
Yes.
finding a really old YouTube video of me. So
But your hair looked really good in that video. That's
looks
probably
better.
what did it.
So I will kickstart that again. I can't move past April without really kickstarting that. And another thing I'm going to do based on what we shared is I am going to plan the next few community events for my community by
Awesome.
just getting that involved, and also got some ideas I want some feedback loops on. So yeah, I'm going to share events in the community and start recording some things. You can find us on Go Getters Pod on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
You can also subscribe to us on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and you can find us on YouTube.
Ding. That's where the video version goes.
Yeah.
And you get to see how we coordinate outfits every week.
This
fail.
wasn't planned.
No.
This was not planned.
It happens almost every time.
Yeah.
And then when I try to change it up and wear something I know Ross would never wear, he comes right out. He had on a topless, hot pink, not topless.
It's not that kind of podcast.
I can't recover from that.
No. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.